Everything seems different. People are different. Food tastes different. And what we look at doesn't look the same. Let's talk about it. I make this sun tea. It's organic leaves, tulsi, lemon, and honey. So I put it in a 2 gallon glass jar, or a gallon and a half. I put the tea leaves in a glass jar, fill it with water, and I put it out in the sun. This is what I've observed. COVID and what happened in this country. I live in the United States. COVID and what happened uh, after it was discovered that it was running rampant in the United States, what happened afterwards affected us deeply as human beings. How we interact with each other, how we socialize, how we move about freely, to a great extent, freely. When, excuse me, it got to a point where stores wouldn't let you in without a mask, I didn't like it. At first, I went to those stores and I wore the mask. That's not how I'm used to looking at other people wearing a mask. We're just not. And then they started drawing lines or putting tape down, to social distance. Now, I could say this now. I didn't realize it then. What was happening in our minds was, I need to stay away from that person. And every time you went into a store and stood in that line, that was the message in your mind. You need to stay away from that person. The one you can't see their face because they're wearing a mask. And then it got to a point, I don't know where you live, but it got to a point where stores wanted to see your vaccine card. I wasn't having any of that. After a couple of months, I started buying more food online. I wasn't going to the store as often for, the typical food I would get to eat. Chicken, beef, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit. And when I stopped going to the stores completely and started ordering things online from various sites, I didn't eat much chicken or much beef. I was getting protein from other sources, and there are a lot of sources for protein. I lost the taste for beef and chicken. I can't eat it now. Maybe it's because I had COVID. I wasn't vaccinated. I got COVID in December of 2021. I thought I was going to die. That's how bad it was. I couldn't lay down. When I laid down, I couldn't breathe. So I'd sit up all night. That went on for weeks. I would sit up all night and then during the day prop myself against the wall and go to sleep. I was afraid to sit in my recliner and go to sleep. It was just a challenging time. But for weeks I couldn't sleep. I had to stay up at night and sit up. I couldn't lay down. The coughing, the sneezing, the runny nose, all of that. And I wasn't offered any medication for it. The VA told me if I can't breathe, call an ambulance. And I know a lot of you went through similar things. All this I'm talking about so far, wearing a mask, the social distancing, show your vaccine card, you got COVID. And you know what? If you got the vaccine, now there's reports coming out of side effects from that. And if you didn't have the vaccine and you got COVID, well, they're talking about side effects, long COVID. It's just crazy times. So I'm not sure if I lost the taste for meat and chicken, or because I had COVID, it doesn't taste the same, or something's different about the food. And it didn't happen immediately. It was months after, wear the mask, all of that stuff. Restaurants started to not be open. I don't go to restaurants often, however. I wasn't able to at all, and neither were you. After a period of time, you couldn't go into restaurants, but a lot of them then started to have takeouts. You call up and somebody would come out and bring your meal out. Then it got to a point where we were receiving orders on how we could live in our homes or what we could do in our backyard. We were told on holidays only a certain amount of people could be in your house, and they had a social distance and they had to wear a mask. If you had a picnic in your yard, there was only a certain amount of people allowed, and they had to wear masks. This is a shock to the system. Stores closed, businesses closed, schools closed. And when I say about things that we look at seem different, did they really change, or is it up here? Some people believe it was an experiment. I don't know about that. I just know this. All these restrictions that curtailed our movement, how we couldn't interact with people, had an effect on our psyche. And back then I was glued to the news. Now it's running rampant in this country. Now it's running rampant in this country. People are dying. That was a shock to our systems, physically and emotionally. Apart from getting COVID and apart from what was being recommended to take for the pandemic. In a way, not being able to move freely and go to these stores and having to wear a mask and be in lines that you had a social distance, that had one effect on us. And then we were being told there are two groups of people in the country, those that are pro-vaccination and those that are not willing to take it. And that created a big divide. So how we socialized was already interrupted. And now you could say we were turned against each other based on, did you get the vaccine or not? That's horrible. So when I said in the title, are people different or people are different? Yeah, people are different. This had an effect on how we think, how we act, how we treat other people long term. When a lot of these restrictions were lifted and we were allowed to be seen or heard again, not all the businesses that closed opened up, kids went back to school, but life just was, as we lived, it just wasn't the same as it was before. It was really interrupted. And because it was interrupted for so long, you could say it wounded us as social creatures. If they said don't go out, I went out. I went everywhere I could. That I could get away with without wearing a mask. I still went outside. I know a lot of people didn't. They stayed in their houses. They were that afraid that they could catch COVID if they went outside. They could catch COVID if they touched the conveyor belt checking out. They could get COVID if they put their hands on a cart to wheel around the store. How we interact with people isn't the same because of that. And it really started after 9/11. This really started after 9/11. And then what happened during COVID made it worse. After 9/11, President Bush came on and said, you're either with us or you're with the terrorists. And I'm like, that's not a choice. And it divided people. You mean you don't have an opinion on that? No, I don't. That was a horrible choice for me. It wasn't that I was against the government, and it wasn't that I was for terrorists. That was just a horrible statement. And so the country was divided then. And we became suspicious then. Do you remember? report anything suspicious. That went on for years. And then they had that chart that would come on TV, the terrorist level threat, red, green, orange, whatever, boom, 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 there's a terrorist threat. People were getting anthrax in the mail. I wasn't afraid of that, but I didn't even look at mail the same because of what was going on. Before 9/11, we had, I always forget, the end of the end of 1999, when they said computers were going to crash, right? Computers weren't designed to go from 1999 to 2000, and they were going to crash, and planes were going to fall out of the air, and cars were going to stop running, and buildings were going to shut down, and nuclear plants were going to go into meltdown. Don't you think somebody knew different? So it's been going on for a while, this effect on how we think, how we look at other people. I don't know of the long-term effects on myself, because walking a spiritual path, I wasn't a judgmental person. I didn't judge things that way. A lot of people took it serious. Remember? People were getting in fights over masks, and you didn't social distance. They were getting violent over it. I had a friend at the time who said, if my wife calls you and asks you if you got the vaccine, tell her yes, or I'm not allowed to hang out with you. Well, just crazy stuff. There's a lot going on right now in the world. Holy man, oh crap, holy crap. At first I was watching snippets of the news. If you remember, I don't have cable or a satellite. I have a Roku box. I get my news on YouTube. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. 9 times out of 10, I just need to read the headline of a video, and that's all I need to know. That tells me everything I need to know. I had a video recommended yesterday. A woman that does nature walks and makes videos. And in this video, she was really horribly upset, crying even. She said, I should have never said what I said yesterday. And I'm thinking, what the hell did you say yesterday? What's going on here? Apparently she made a video and said, I've said it many times, get outside and go into nature, right? She said something to that effect the day before on a video, and in the comments, I guess, because I didn't read them. I didn't go watch yesterday's video. I didn't go look at the comments. Apparently people were attacking her and telling her, don't tell us what to do. And from what she was describing, they were saying horrible things about her. Well, I just report them. I just can't ignore negative comments are one, but if it's bullying and harassing, I report it. But I get out into nature every day. I start my day every morning. I get up, turn the coffee pot on, go to the bathroom, get dressed, and I go sit on my deck for 5 to 10 minutes in silence. That's how I start my day. I want to say I started doing that a year or two ago, specifically on my desk and the procedure that follows, because I just used to go and sit there. So I sit on my deck and I just sit there in silence for 5 to 10 minutes. And when it feels like my mind is calm, okay? Because you can't turn off your thoughts. When my mind calms down, I collect my thoughts and I ask myself 4 questions. Every morning, immediately upon awakening. I come in, turn the coffee pot on, go to the bathroom, get dressed, grab a coffee, I go sit outside, my mind calms down. And I ask myself 4 questions. What do I need to do today? What should I do today? What do I have to do today? What's most important? First thing in the morning, I put the day into perspective. And then I think about my choices. I might come up with 3 or 4 things that are important. Well, which one is more important than the other? I think about it. I just don't go rushing into the day. I put it into perspective. I start my day getting my day together. And it goes a lot smoother. Now I know from the Stoics that from the time I wake up till the time I go to bed throughout the day, I could be hurt, frustrated, disappointed, or annoyed by a person, place, or thing. There's a good chance it'll happen every day. But when I read this book by Don Miguel Ruiz, The 4 Agreements, one thing stuck out at me in that book. One of the 4 agreements is don't take things personal. So if throughout the day I get hurt, frustrated, disappointed, or annoyed by a person, place, or thing, I don't take it personal. Why me? Why me? Why is this place closed? I wanted to go to the state park today and it's closed. Oh well. That's life. Most of the time, situations that arise, they don't bother me. I could ignore them. I could ask myself, is this urgent? Does this have to be addressed immediately? Is it an emergency? Is it urgent? It's safe to say that what gets me bent out of shape occasionally is dealing with the healthcare system. But I have someone I could talk to when that happens. I have someone I could talk to. I just text them and say, I need a vent. Thank you. I need a vent. Here's what's going on. I'm not sure how it's going to play out. I haven't figured it out yet. Maybe I could do this, this, or this, but I don't get all bent out of shape. I don't get aggressive. I don't get violent. I don't call the healthcare place up, the VA or the spine and pain clinic, and start chewing them out. I don't do that. And usually now, if I just let it go for the day, put it on the back burner, so to speak, it kind of resolves itself. But if it goes on for 2 or 3 days and it's urgent, I will text my friend and say I need a vent. Have a good day. I hope to see you in the next video. Johan out. Peace.